Hello students, this is the part 5 of Force and Laws of Motion. In our previous part, we have studied about Newton's second law of motion. In that we have learned that the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced external force in the direction of force. And from there a relation come F is equals to ma, which means that the net unbalanced external force is equal to product of mass and acceleration of the object on which the force is applied. Topics to be covered in this part are: first, SI and CGS unit of force; second, application of second law of motion; and after that we will solve some numericals on momentum and second law of motion. So let us start. So first of all we will deal with SI unit of force. So students, SI unit of force is Newton and its symbol is capital N. And this unit Newton is named in honor of Sir Isaac Newton. Now, if we see the expression F is equals to ma, then we can define 1 Newton of force as that force which produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in an object of 1 kilogram mass. So we can write the force is said to be 1 Newton which produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in an object of 1 kilogram mass. So students, 1 Newton of force can be written as 1 Newton is equals to 1 kilogram into 1 meter per second square, because 1 Newton is that force which produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in an object of mass 1 kilogram. So we can write 1 Newton is equals to 1 kilogram meter per second square. I hope it is clear that Newton is the SI unit of force. Now students, we will see CGS unit of force. But before that, let me recall you what is CGS system. So CGS system is that system of measurement in which length is measured in centimeter, mass is measured in gram, and time is measured in second. As the name CGS suggests, C means centimeter, G means gram, and S means second. So it is that system of measurement in which length is measured in centimeter, mass is measured in gram, and time is measured in second. Now students, you know meter is the SI unit of length and centimeter is the CGS unit of length. Kilogram is the SI unit of mass and gram is the CGS unit of mass. In the same way, Newton is the SI unit of force and dyne is the CGS unit of force. So CGS unit of force is dyne. And 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. We will solve this expression as follow. As you know from previous slide, 1 Newton equal to 1 kilogram into 1 meter per second square. And 1 kilogram is equal to 1000 gram and 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeter. So when we put these value in the above expression, then what we get? 1 Newton is equal to 1000 gram. In place of 1 kilogram we can write 1000 gram, and in place of 1 meter we can write 100 centimeter per second square. Now after calculating it, we will get 1 Newton equal to 10 to the power 5 gram centimeter per second square. And gram centimeter per second square is known as dyne, which is defined as the CGS unit of force. So we can write 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne, because 1 dyne equal to 1 gram centimeter per second square. So it is clear that CGS unit of force is dyne and 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. Now students, first we will understand the concept of second law of motion, and after that we will see some applications of second law of motion. So students, you know that According to second law of motion, the unbalanced external force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. So we can write force is directly proportional to change in momentum divided by time. And from this expression it is clear that the time is in denominator. And if time is in denominator, then it means that if time will decrease, then force will increase. And if time will increase, then force will decrease. Or this can be written as, if change in momentum occurs in short interval of time, then the force will be large. And if change in momentum occurs in large interval of time, then the force will be small. In first statement, you can see that the change in momentum occurs in short interval of time. Short interval of time means the time is less, and if time is less, then from this expression it is clear that force will be more. That's why I have written there the force will be large. And from second statement, if change in momentum occurs in large interval of time, that is the time is more. And from this expression it is clear that if time is more, then force will be small. That's why I have written here the force will be small. Applications of Newton's second law of motion. So our first application is, a fielder while catching a fast moving cricket ball gradually pulls his hands backwards with moving ball. So in doing so, the fielder is actually increases the time in which the high velocity of the moving ball decreases to 0. Or we can say that if the high velocity of the moving ball decreases to 0 in an increased time, then the change in momentum occurs in an increased time. And if the change in momentum occurs in more time, then the force will be small. So the fielder would have to apply a smaller force in order to stop the moving ball, and it would also less harm the palms of the fielder. But if the fielder catches the high velocity moving ball suddenly, then in a very short interval of time, the high velocity of the moving ball decreases to 0. That is, we can say that the change in momentum occurs in a short interval of time. And if change in momentum occurs in short interval of time, then the force will be large. That is, the fielder would have to apply a larger force in order to stop the ball, or it would harm the palms of the fielder more. That's why a fielder, while catching a fast moving cricket ball, gradually pulls his hands backwards with moving ball. Second application is, a person falling from a height on a hard cemented floor gets injured, but a person on a grassy surface or a heap of sand is not injured. So again, the reason is same. As the person is falling from a height, so it has a certain velocity, and when it hit a hard cemented floor, then in a very short interval of time the velocity of the person decreases to 0. That is, we can say that the change in momentum occurs in a short interval of time, and if change in momentum occurs in short interval of time, then the force would be large, and if force is large, then the person would also get injured. But when the person hit a grassy surface or a heap of sand, then as the surfaces are not hard surface, so it will take some more time in order to decrease the velocity of the person to 0. That is, we can say that the change in momentum occurs in a large interval of time, and if change in momentum occurs in large interval of time, then the force will be small, and if force is small, then the person would not be injured. Third application is, when a fast moving train collides with a stationary train, huge damage is caused due to moving train. As the train is moving fast, so it has a very high velocity, and when it strikes a stationary train, then the high velocity of train decreases to 0 in a short interval of time. That is, we can say that the change in momentum occurs in a short interval of time, and if change in momentum occurs in short interval of time, then the force would be large. Hence it is obvious that huge damage is caused due to moving train. So these are some applications of Newton's second law of motion. Now students, we will solve some numericals based on momentum and Newton's second law of motion. So our first numerical is a bullet of mass 10 gram traveling horizontally with a velocity of 150 meter per second strikes a stationary wooden block and come to rest in 0.03 second. Calculate the distance of penetration of the bullet into the block. Also calculate the magnitude of force by wooden block on the bullet. So here in this question it is given that there is a bullet of mass 10 gram which is traveling with a velocity of 150 meter per second, and because of its velocity it penetrates a stationary wooden block to a certain distance and come to rest after some time, that is given here 0.03 second. So we have to calculate the distance of penetration of the bullet into the block, and also we have to calculate the magnitude of force exerted by wooden block on the bullet. So let us collect all the information that is given in this question. So here we have mass of bullet m is equal to 10 gram. So you know that gram is not a SI unit. So 10 gram can be written as 0.01 kilogram. And initial velocity u is given as 150 meter per second. Now it is given that after traveling a certain distance or after penetrating a certain distance into the block, the bullet come to rest. That is, its velocity becomes 0 after 0.03 second. So we can write final velocity v is equal to 0 and time t is equals to 0.03 second. It is given. Now the acceleration of the bullet during penetration through a wooden block is given as a is equals to v minus u divided by t. That is change in velocity, final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. So after putting the values, we have 0 minus 150 divided by 0.03, which comes out to be minus 5 into 10 to the power 3 meter per second square. So this is the acceleration of the bullet. Now let the distance of penetration be s. Then using the relation v square minus u square is equals to 2as, we can write s is equals to v square minus u square divided by 2a. And after putting the values, we have s equal to 0 square minus 150 square divided by 2 into acceleration, that is minus 5 into 10 power 3, and it comes out to be 2.25 meter. It means that the bullet has traveled a distance of 2.25 meter before coming to rest in 0.03 second. Now also we have to calculate the force exerted by wooden block on the bullet. So let us see. According to Newton's second law of motion, we know that F is equals to ma. So after putting the values, m equal to 0.01 kilogram into a minus 5 into 10 power 3 meter per second square, it comes out to be minus 50 Newton. Now students, here you can see that the negative sign is there. So negative sign means that the force exerted by wooden block on bullet is opposite in direction to the force exerted by bullet on wooden block. But again we have to calculate only the magnitude of force. So the magnitude of force exerted by wooden block on bullet is 50 Newton. Now let us see second numerical. So in second numerical it is given that two horizontal forces F1 equal to 12 Newton and F2 equal to 7.5 Newton are acting on a block of mass 3 kg in mutually opposite direction as shown in figure. If the surface is perfectly frictionless, then what is the acceleration of the block and in which direction? So from this figure it is clear that this is the frictionless surface on which a block is placed of mass 3 kg. And two forces are acting simultaneously on this block. One is of 12 Newton and another is of 7.5 Newton. But both these forces are in opposite direction. So we have to calculate the acceleration of the block and also the direction of the acceleration. So from this figure it is clear that the two forces F1 and F2 which are acting in mutually opposite direction, but as they are not of the same magnitude, so they will constitute an unbalanced force. So the net unbalanced force can be calculated as the bigger force F1 minus smaller force F2, and the direction of the net unbalanced force is in the direction of bigger force, that is F1. So let us collect the information which is given here. So here the mass of the block M is equals to 3 kilogram is given. And also the net force can be calculated as F1 minus F2, that is 12 minus 7.5, which comes out to be 4.5 Newton. So we have the value of force and value of mass. So using Newton's second law, F equal to ma, we can calculate the acceleration as A is equals to F divided by m. So after putting the values, F equal to 4.5 divided by 3, it comes out to be 1.5 meter per second square. So the net acceleration of the block is 1.5 meter per second square. As in this case, the net force is in the direction of the bigger force F1. So acceleration will also be in the same direction of F1, that is towards left. Now let us see our next problem. The velocity time graph of a rubber ball of mass 80 gram moving along a straight line on a long rough table is shown in the figure. How much force does the table exert on the ball to bring it to rest? What is the distance covered by the ball during this time? So here you can see the graph, velocity time graph of the rubber ball is given. So from this graph, it is clear that at time t is equals to 0 second, the rubber ball has a initial velocity of 20 centimeter per second. And after time t equal to 8 second, the rubber ball come to rest. That is, we can say that the final velocity of the rubber ball becomes 0 in 8 seconds. So here given that initial velocity of ball u equal to 20 centimeter per second. So as it is given in centimeter per second, so first of all we will convert it into meter per second, which comes out to be 0.2 meter per second. And again final velocity is given as 0 and time equal to 8 second. So we have the values of initial velocity and final velocity and also the time. So we can calculate the acceleration of the rubber ball as A is equals to V minus U divided by T. And after putting the value, we can write 0 minus 0.2 as initial velocity is 0.2 divided by time, that is 8. So it comes out to be minus 0.025 meter per second square. So we can say that the rubber ball is decelerating uniformly with an acceleration of 0.025 meter per second square. Here the negative sign represents the rubber ball is decelerating uniformly. As the rubber ball is moving along a straight line on a long rough table, so there must be a force of friction because the table is rough. And that force of friction can be calculated with the help of Newton's second law of motion, that is F equal to ma. So the force of friction exerted by table on the ball of mass m equal to 80 gram, that is 0.08 kilogram, can be calculated as F equal to ma, that is 0.08 kilogram into minus 0.025 meter per second square, which comes out to be minus 2 into 10 to the power minus 3 Newton. So again here you can see there is a negative sign, and this negative sign represents that the force of friction is opposing the motion of rubber ball along the long rough table. Now students, you can see the given graph is velocity time graph, and you know the area under velocity time graph gives the magnitude of displacement or the total distance covered by an object. So from this graph we can say the distance covered by the rubber ball during this time is equals to the area of the triangle OAB. Hence we can write distance covered by ball during this time, that is in 8 seconds, is equals to area of the triangle OAB. And area of triangle OAB is equals to half into base, that is OA, which is equals to 8 seconds, into height, that is OB, which is equals to 20 centimeter per second, or we can say 0.2 meter per second. So we can write half of OA into OB, and after putting the value, half into 8 into 0.2, which comes out to be 0.8 meter. Now students, these are some questions for practice which you must try, and in our next part of force and laws of motion, we will discuss Newton's third law of motion and some points regarding Newton's third law of motion. Thank you.